The first time I ever traveled to Moab, I actually came to Rally on the Rocks, and I think it was its second or third year in existence for the event. It didn't take 5 minutes of driving into Moab, let alone riding side-by-sides here, to know that this was a really special place. I thought it was going to be a bit of a kind of granola mountain bike hiker town that wasn't welcoming to off-road vehicles, and I couldn't have been more wrong. This is a place where the groups of people like mountain bikers, hikers, dirt bikers, side-by-side riders, Jeep guys, everybody gets along here, and it's neat to see that happening in a place. The main event grounds for Rally on the Rocks is located at the Spanish Trail Arena. Over the years, Rally on the Rocks has grown, but it really hasn't changed in its base form. It is still an opportunity for people to gather together with their side-by-side ATVs in Moab and go on guided rides. And that's really what Rally on the Rocks is. I mean, they have a show and they have vendors and they have industry partners show up, manufacturers show up and display products here. Part of what Rally on the Rocks does is they try to raise some money for a charity, and this year it's called Beacon. It's a local charity here in Moab. It's an after-school program for kids that provides activities and things for kids after school. Thanks to Polaris donating this vehicle, as well as tons of industry sponsors, they're going to raise a minimum of $15,000 to donate to this charity. We were really fortunate while we were here at Rally on the Rocks that Kawasaki had offered to loan us a vehicle. It's a brand new Teryx 4-seater. We don't get to use Kawasaki's very often. They're pretty hard to get as press units in Canada, which is why you don't see them on our show a lot. So this was an opportunity for me to get some seat time in it and find out what I really think about the Teryx. While we were here on site, we wanted to hook up with some Canadian friends that we knew were coming down here, UTV Canada, and thought it'd be cool if all the Canadians who were here hooked up and went on a ride.
I'm the president of UTV Canada, and we're a wholesale distributor of UTV parts and accessories in Canada. And we specialize in the UTV market, although we are starting to branch more into the ATV stuff as well. Our history with dirt tracks goes back several years on a really cool build that we did, Can-Am, the Expedition build. It was a unit that was built to take off-road, and a family of 4, and you could live in this thing for up to 3 to 4 days.
In the morning, everything looked great. It was a little chilly, but not too bad, and all of a sudden, it's like the wind blew in, it started to rain, and as the wind blew in, it blew this cold front right on top of everybody, and it was freezing. It was like 5 degrees Celsius and overcast and raining, and we had to take off and do this day ride. And to say that it kind of put a damper on things would be true. Not enough that everybody turned around and left. I mean, we're all intrepid ATV side-by-side riders, but it definitely wasn't going to be the warm t-shirt ride that we thought it was going to be. Once we get up a certain distance to where we kind of enter the riding areas, the police escort left us, and we were on our own, so we continued on up into the Moab backcountry till we got to the Fins and Things Trailhead. This trail wasn't overly technical. In the past here at Moab, we've ridden some of the most technical trails. We've done Poison Spider, which was my favorite and was awesome. This one was way more mellow. There wasn't very many steep climbs. There was only a few kind of gnarly crawling type rock features, but overall the trail was fun. And because the weather was kind of crappy, I think it was good that we were on a more mellow trail.
The trails here are really unique. You'll never find more than 100 feet of the same trail. You're in sand for 2 minutes, then we were in the hard rocks. 2 minutes later, we're in the jagged stuff. We weren't sure what to expect from one corner to the next.
And when it started to rain again, it rained hard. And it was cold, freezing cold. The second half of Fins and Things is only so long, it's not very far, so the whole group decided that we would continue on, and we finished the trail, got soaked, we're freezing cold, and finished off the day. And I guess as much as that day wasn't super fun due to the weather, it was cool to say that we'd stuck it out and we finished it and we didn't give up.
The last time I was in Moab, we were at a trailhead and there was these fossil footprints in a rock, and you could go up and you could put your hands in them and stuff. And I was telling my girls about going on this trip. I told them about that spot, and they want to see a picture of these fossils. They want me to put my hands in them so they can see what they're like, and they're all excited about it. So, and we're pretty sure it's at Poison Spider Trailhead. That's that way.
The route into the Poison Spider Trailhead is just spectacular. I mean, you drive into this canyon and there's the Colorado River on one side and these straight up canyon walls on the other that go up hundreds and hundreds of feet. It's just a beautiful drive in. It was a nice little hike up the side of this rocky cliff, and we found the Dinosaur Footprint, and I got my picture, and Callie will be exceptionally pleased when I get home and I show it to her. So overall, a successful little sidebar trip while we were here. By the time our first day here in Moab was over, we'd done a lot of things, but it really hadn't been that great. But the forecast for day 2 was significantly better. Our first ride day here in Moab was kind of crappy. It was cold and rainy. Day 2 looked like it was going to be better. The forecast said it was going to be better, but as we pulled into Rally on the Rocks, the weather was looking pretty questionable again. It was still cold. But we're intrepid side-by-side riders. We don't give up, and we were gonna push through day 2, whether the weather was great or crappy, it didn't matter. Hooking up with the guys from UTV Canada on day 1 was great, but unfortunately riding with the organized group is very difficult to shoot for us with the camera and to get enough shots to make a segment like this. So on day 2, we decided that we would go out with the same guys again, but we were gonna go out on our own. And we followed a group out with the police escort, but once we got to the trailhead, we let them go ahead of us. We stayed back and we did the trail at our own pace. It was really great. The trail we did that day was called Porcupine. It was definitely a different experience than the first day on Fins and Things.
I was expecting a little better weather, but today it's a whole lot better, and tomorrow we're expecting it to be much better again, so we're looking forward to that.
The Porcupine Ridge Trail skirts right along the edge of a huge canyon. And when I say right along the edge, I mean right along the edge, as in you're pushing dirt over the edge of this cliff. There's some more interesting rock features on this trail. It's a little bit more technical. When you first pull onto the trail, you're not really sure what to expect, but it doesn't take more than probably 500 feet before you realize this is going to be quite an interesting trip.
Danielle, who's riding with me, one of our marketing gals, this is her first time to Moab, so this has been a real experience for her. And she's sitting beside me, and I could just see her kind of looking over the edge. I mean, we're riding on the edge of a cliff, and I'm thinking it's got to be 1,500, 2,000 feet down, you know. So I was doing my best to keep the wheel up on the high side and keep her comfortable, and be remiss to say that I wasn't a little shaking in my boots too, coming up some of those trails. So.
The trail itself that we were riding on was a relatively easy trail. There were some features that were more technical, but overall it was pretty easy. The truth though is the scenery was just unbelievable. I mean, looking down into this canyon, it dropped off 1,000 feet or whatever. It was crazy beautiful. And that's what Moab really has to offer a lot of, is those crazy beautiful scenic spots. The Porcupine Trail is actually quite a bit higher in elevation than the trail we rode the day before. So while we were getting rained on and cold the day before, the people who were riding Porcupine that day were actually getting snowed on. And we got to a point on the Porcupine Trail where that snow was still up in the trees and hanging up on the treetops, which really made for a beautiful scene. But I can only imagine how cold those guys were the day before when we were cold. Part of rock crawling, whether you're in a side-by-side, a Jeep or whatever, is the sort of social aspect of it. Because rock crawling is so much slower than typical trail riding, and because you're constantly coming upon obstacles that require one-at-a-time travel, you really get a lot of time to stop and chat with your friends. And we came up on this obstacle on the Porcupine Trail that was a pretty gnarly, rocky uphill with a ledge in the middle. And at that point, everybody got out. We all got some waters and had some food. It was kind of right around lunchtime. And it gave us an opportunity to just get out, get to know each other better, have some laughs, make fun of each other when it didn't go well, and it was a nice little break to the typical kind of trail riding that we do day in and day out. Porcupine Trail ends at a cliff, and not just a little cliff, a big, massive, monster cliff. And the trail kind of just rolled right up to the edge of the cliffs. And we got there, the group that had gone ahead of us was there, and they were having their lunch, and everybody was milling around chatting and talking and looking over the edge of the cliff. And it was a spectacular spot. Our whole group was just blown away by how beautiful it was, how far you could see, some of the features in the rocks you could see way, way out across the valley. It's just a breathtaking spot. And I could see that the UTV Canada guys, Reed in particular, was really taken aback by it. He was shocked.
You know, we look over on this side over here into these mountains here, and we see the remnants of yesterday's snow that the poor guys got on the ride up here yesterday. But then, you know, if we go over to this other side, and it's phenomenal how, you know, how the formation can change in a quarter mile. So the views from here are just totally incredible.
On the Porcupine Trail, you go out the same way you came in, and we turned around after we were done up on this cliff and had enough of the scenic views, as if you can get enough of scenic views. But when we were done, we headed back, and the obstacles going the opposite way. Some were easier, some were more difficult, but it was all just as much fun. When we got back out to the fire road that was going to take us back down into the town of Moab, it was a little wider and really twisty. So we hadn't had a chance really to go very fast on this trip. That's what rock crawling in Moab is all about, is pretty much slow speed. But in this case, we were able to fire it up a little bit, get a few more miles per hour under our butts. If you can make it, if you can either get your own vehicles to Moab, Utah, or if you have the ability to get here and rent vehicles, come here. Come to Rally on the Rocks. Attend the event, experience all that it has to offer, and most importantly, experience Moab, because if it doesn't take your breath away, you might not have any breath left in you in the first place. It is just spectacular. Thanks for watching this segment of Trax TV. For more great content, make sure you click the links or subscribe to our channel, where we're always updating with new content every day throughout the week.